Welcome to Glazed Over, a podcast for contemporary ceramic studios. We're your host, Jaskowiak.
And Amy Williams. You're invited to join us in creative conversation about life in the arts as entertainment space.
Hi, and welcome back to the Glazed Over podcast. My name is Amy Williams. I'm solo today, but I'm so excited because I have Michaela Jaskowiak from As You Wish Pottery on to talk about what she does best. She does many things best, but one of the things at As You Wish is influencer marketing.
Hey podcasters, this is Lisa with Bisque Imports. Enjoy this podcast series from the CCSA, and for those of you who are looking to expand your knowledge on industry best practices, how to create some great samples, etc., don't forget to visit all the resources available on bisqueimports.com. Enjoy.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
Are you ready to be inspired and take your studio to new heights? As a CCSA member, you'll have exclusive access to our annual convention, the must-attend event for Fired Arts Studio owners. With expert speakers, hands-on workshops, and networking opportunities, the convention is where you'll learn the latest industry trends and gain insight to grow your business. Plus, you'll connect with suppliers showcasing the newest products. Don't miss out on the most exciting event of the year. Become a CCSA member today at ccsaonline.com and join us for the next convention.
So hi, Michaela. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I flubbed your name on the first go, which is
That's okay.
iconic. We've been friends for so long.
I know.
I don't know what to tell you about that.
That's all right. All is forgiven. And, Michaela or MJ, whatever comes out your mouth, whatever's easier, I'm here for it. So
Perfect. So hi, Michaela. How are you?
hi. I'm doing good.
Good. I'm really looking forward to getting into this with you. I've been bringing up the idea of having you on since we started the podcast because you're such a wealth of information. You do what you call a brain blast so well. Michaela is definitely the person you call when you need the plan to be planned. So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah. As you know, don't call me with a problem if you don't want solutions,
Yes. Yeah. And if you do call her with a problem, then preface that you just want to complain.
Yes.
Or else you're going to get 1,000
Ideas you never asked for.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Michaela, for the 3.5 people who don't know who you are or maybe are not as familiar with As You Wish, can you give us a little bit of your background, your bio?
Yeah. Yeah, so I actually got hired, started working with As You Wish in 2011 while I was in high school. And I worked as a sales associate and became a manager over time. We had a little bit of a separation, and then I worked in fast-paced retail, which I learned a lot about salesmanship and coaching. And I just learned a lot more about managing that I could take and bring back to As You Wish. And then when I came back to As You Wish, I was more on the executive side, doing large events, planning and, outreach and whatnot for our studios. And then eventually became the director of social media and public relations, which I feel like I've just kind of created this role for myself, which I'm very lucky to have this opportunity and this privilege. So yeah, my position is very much just my strengths. I was able to kind of create my position that to be just like what I'm good at and how I can add value to the team. So I love the PYOP industry, even in our separations, as I like to call it. From As You Wish, I was still very much immersed in the industry, as you know. And yeah, so I'm like super passionate about sales and community and how to make those two tie together. So yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't realize you were still in high school when you started.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah. It was my senior year, but I was still a baby.
That's cool. Yeah. How long would you say As You Wish has been putting a focus on influencer marketing? Well, I guess first, why don't you tell us what influencer marketing is?
Sure. I would say to kind of simplify it, influencer marketing really is tapping into your community's source of influence. So when you think back, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, that was really bloggers, right? And having mommy bloggers come in and write up things, pre-social media's height, so to speak. And publications, newspaper, the TV news, whatever it may be. Now, as social media has grown, it is really just tapping into who your audience is following as a source of influence. So that isn't necessarily like, I see sometimes a conversation online and peeps and whatnot looking for a pottery painting influencer. I don't think that person exists. It's really your audience is looking for, and your community is looking for things to do, ideas, ways to celebrate their birthday party, date night ideas, creative quality time, whatever that looks like. And we are a solution to that problem. So we look for influencers or publications or whatever it may be that kind of provide that answer to the community, and that's who we look to partner with. And of course, there's some vetting as well, which we can dive into if you want.
Totally. Yeah, I think the biggest, most important takeaway I think from everything you just said is your community. I think too, like you're saying, people asking for paint your own pottery influencers or people wanting to go viral on platforms like TikTok, that does not necessarily bring you who you think it will bring you.
Right. Right.
Numbers don't necessarily mean people through the door. So that's the best thing that you could have said is like, when you're looking for these influencers, look for them locally because these are the people that
Yeah.
do it. Like there's a girl, so I'm from Dublin, Georgia, which is like a really small town. There's this girl named Rachel, and that girl runs the city. I mean, if she is posting about a vacuum cleaner that she loves and why she loves it, we're all buying it. And like
Sure.
in this, she has 2,000 followers on Instagram, maybe, but
Right.
her influence is huge. So that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's something that I've kind of learned along the way. So, just to go back to your original question, we have always worked with mommy bloggers. And when blogging was in its height, we would have guest blogs on our website and whatnot. And since coming into this role, it has shifted more towards the social media influencers. But it is more about their engagement and how much trust their community has in them, as opposed to how many followers they have. Oftentimes, their follower count is attached to a price tag. You'll find that the more followers people have, the more their rates will be. But I do a lot of checks and balances to make sure that it's not a fake number, because people unfortunately pay to play, which means they're buying followers. So I'm looking more so at engagement rate, which I have a website that I utilize, and you just put in people's handle and it'll tell you what their engagement rate is and how that shapes up versus like what they should be for how many followers they have.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, now that some people have their likes hidden, that does kind of skew the numbers, so to speak. But you can get a general idea when you're going through people's pages how many comments they're getting, who's commenting. Is it the same 5 people commenting on every post? They probably don't have a huge engaged audience. They just do that thing where they all comment on each other's posts. And it's not really necessarily like a warm audience ready and eager for information. It's just for show.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm careful not to like, you and I are like on the internet every day
Yeah.
where so when Michaela's talking about engagement rate, it's just that. It's, are their posts being liked? Are they being commented on? Can you see if they're being shared? Does it feel like their audience cares about what they're doing? And when she's saying, people buying followers, they buy that number to make it look like they have a ton of people there. But, like she's saying, if they have 100,000 followers and 100 likes on something, it's likely that
The math ain't mathing. Right.
100%.
Yeah. And, we run into that a lot. I think that there is a huge amount of people who really just utilize social media to get free experiences for their family, which I totally understand that. And we, for the most part, give everybody a fair go. So if somebody reaches out and they say they want to talk about our business, their brand aligns with ours by way of like their brand voice. We've had to say no to people who use a lot of cursing and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like, we don't want that representing our brand. So long as our brand voice aligns with what we do, their mission aligns with what we do, like, we're willing to give them a go. But
Mm-hmm.
and that's just at the cost of trade. So it's like, just the pottery they paint, the time in the studio. So cost wise, it's like literally $50. Like it's worth giving it a go to see what happens. But over time, I've found that just like being a little bit more particular about who I really invite in the studio on a hosted experience has yielded better results. And I just typically, like, if someone's like, we'd love to come in and paint, blah, 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 and they're reaching out to me,
Mhm.
um, and they're saying, we want to come in, I want to focus on this, blah, blah, blah. I just say, we'd be happy to help. We'd be happy to host you in yours. Here's a link to make a reservation. Here's how much it costs. And that
Mhm.
kind of tells them, like, this isn't for free.
Mhm.
If you want to come in and post and it works out great, we'd love that. But
Mhm.
otherwise, like, everyone's welcome to come in anytime. It doesn't have to be just because it's free.
Right. So can we talk a little bit about what you offer these influencers and like what the trades are? Because like you said, it sometimes it's experience. Sometimes you're paying maybe an influencer rate for a reel or a post on the grid.
Yeah.
What kind of offerings does As You Wish, put out for these people?
For sure. It's varied based on the experience the influencer or the guest is going to have in the studio. Um, a lot of times we are lucky enough to be able to work for trade for many influencers. I've fostered really great relationships with them over the years to where they're just excited about whatever we have going on. So if we have a news segment and we need painters, they'll come in and paint for us, and there's no quid pro quo, there's no expectation of anything to be posted on their end, but of course they naturally do. So I would say for just like normal day-to-day painting, I have a handful of influencers that will come in and it'll just be simply for trade. Or sometimes I just need UGC content, which is something I've been doing a little bit more, which
Well,
UGC,
I was gonna say you need to define that.
yeah. UGC is user generated content. So, like when you're scrolling on your own feed and you see somebody, drinking Bloom or whatever the heck that, the supplements are, or whatever, and they're like, I love this and this is how I start my day. That's user generated content. It feels organic. It's them posting about their own experience. So, we have some, I guess you could say, more like micro influencers where they have a smaller reach but a more engaged audience. We work with them a lot more on trade. And then also, we've been able to have them come in and send us a video that they've edited. I give like the outline of what I'm looking for. And then that way we're able to use that organically and for like paid advertising as well.
Hmm.
So that's just like a normal walk-in experience, typically how that works. I don't typically work with influencers on a paid basis for like a just because experience, like an evergreen experience.
Hmm.
Maybe I should now that I'm thinking about it, but I typically
I
don't.
mean, can you give us an outline, an idea of what that outline is when you're saying, maybe you'll talk to them about what the user generated content should be?
Yeah. So typically, we just want to highlight what an experience looks like. And so sometimes we have to like line item what our audience is likely needing to see to understand what it's like to paint pottery in As You Wish. So we tell them we want like a shot of you like coming in the studio, maybe looking at the bisque shelves for a little bit, picking out paints, a couple shots of you painting. We love seeing smiling faces, candid interactions. And then, if possible, we love to show your finished works at the end, and then also like the fired works when you come to pick up and the reactions to the fired pottery.
Hmm.
Sometimes, you got to give a little grace. You don't get every shot, but as long as the story is still like told really well and it's really fluid, I'm not super picky. I've never been like, go reshoot that.
Right, right.
It's more about just like working with what you've got. Um, and so that's typically what that will look like for a user generated experience or UGC like content trade influencer situation. And we found some of our UGC creators we don't necessarily work with as influencers. So it's more for us to have the content. And I've come across them just in my own feed from them tagging us and coming into paint. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Mm.
this girl is actually really good at making videos. She only has 2,300 followers and she works at Coach. And so, she's not really doing this full time,
Mm.
but, she makes really great videos and she's cute and she has a good time and the video looked really good. I would love to just have her make videos for us. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so our agreement there is they can't post on their own page until 2 weeks after we've posted it on our page,
Mhm.
because we want it to juice, organically. So,
Yeah.
but yes, typically that's what the UGC experience kind of looks like. And then as far as paid influencers, that's more for like bigger ordeals, I guess you could
Mhm.
say. Um, so we have like a few yearly things that we try to hit. So we always do a summer class preview night for our family influencers. So
Mhm.
those are accounts where they're all about things to do with the family, things to do for kids, as opposed to like the date night out or the millennials with or without children.
Mhm.
We try to, you know, cross into every avenue because our customer fills all of those different personas. Um, but our summer class preview event is always super successful, and that's 90% of the time just for trade.
Mhm.
Um, oh, go ahead. What were
Well,
you gonna say?
I'm curious, are you trading a class for the kid, or are you trading like the parents coming in and painting?
It's just the kids' attendance. So
Yeah, that's smart.
we just put on a private class. We pick a summer class that we think either might need the attention or will be like visually
I see.
exciting.
I see. So
Um,
you're staging like a summer camp day, but for these family
Influencers.
influencers, and they're
Mhm.
bringing their kids, and are the moms then getting content while the kids are painting, and that's then
Exactly.
what they're sharing? I see.
Exactly.
That's very smart.
So, the sorry. Um, so like we always do it in May because our summer classes start in June.
Hmm.
And we find like the mid-May timeline works well for turning out their content, like editing, posting, and then also that lead time into summer classes. So one year we did like a class that involved marbling because that's like really visually exciting and the kids think it's so
Hmm.
cool. So then that makes for easy content because all the kids are like, wow, oh my gosh, and you can really see it on their faces.
Yeah.
um this year I think we're going to do one of our bubble classes, which obviously that is really visually engaging as well. So we just set it up as like a one night because our summer camper class program is just an hour and a half twice a week in the mornings.
Hmm.
And I know that everybody's camp schedule looks different, so this like influencer preview night, if you wanted to like take this idea and run with it, you would have to kind of tailor it to what your camp looks like. But if you do have like an all day experience, I would recommend, and you want to do an influencer preview night, I would recommend doing like a bite out of it, like what a
Hmm.
taste of summer camp would look like. Just because you don't want to overwhelm and ask for too much of the influencers. Like, I need you here for 8 hours. Like, that's
Hmm.
not going to fly. So pick one project or pick one activity that you can showcase, and then just run it like you would as if the parents weren't there.
Hmm.
And we always make sure our bright shining star wishers, it's what we call our staff members. Our wishers are like, the best, friendliest, bubbliest. That's
Hmm.
who's going to be working the event. Not that majority of our staff isn't amazing and bubbly, but sometimes there's weeds in the garden. Everybody can relate to that, right? Um, so yeah, so then we put on this event, and then typically I'll have handouts, and that will be just like a little like a business card size handout, and that's just like bullet point information. And the influencers love that because it makes their job a lot easier. So it's like
Hmm.
classes are Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, 9 to 10:30. They cost $25 each. Here's how you sign up online,
Hmm.
blah blah blah.
It's the
Like,
speaking points. It's yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
So
and then
smart.
we have all of our classes on display. So, 9 times out of 10, influencers will get a panning shot of like all the classes that are coming up. They'll have our summer class flyers. So, they might show it on there, check out the schedule, blah, blah, blah. And, I've done it two ways where we just like ask them to link to our website. And then I've also done unique links. And
Hmm.
I don't know why some people don't understand how unique links work. And so it's kind of hit or miss.
Do you mean the influencers or their audience?
Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
influencers actually,
Mm-hmm.
they aren't always good about copy pasting the actual unique link. They're copy
Mm-hmm.
pasting the destination URL,
Yeah,
which is just our website. So then it's not really trackable.
sure.
So all we can do is just using like Google Analytics and Meta Business Suite, like insights and stuff, just traffic to our website from social media. If there's a
Mm-hmm.
huge influx, we obviously say that's from the influencer thing. So
Yeah.
it becomes slightly immeasurable, but you can tell, you get signups rolling in once that post goes live. So you can tell it, while
Yeah.
you can't sit there and be like, this many signups came from this exact post, you can
Mm-hmm.
tell where the influx was based on when the posts went live by the influencers. And we usually have probably 6 to 8 influencers because a lot of them have multiple children. So then that
Mm-hmm.
makes it look like a full class. So,
Yeah. And I think if you're listening and you're like, I don't understand why you would put all the effort into that, and especially if you can't always tell the tracking of it all and what's the point. I think in what do the influencers get out of it? Like it's not just their kids coming and having fun. The influencers need content too. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's incredibly hard to stage content and film and shoot. And if I can go somewhere and it's all laid out
set up.
for me and they hand me
Mhm.
talking points, like it makes their job a lot easier. And at the end of the day, this is their job. You know, they're making
Right.
money or, there's some level of supporting themselves there. So I think that's really smart. I am curious. There's so many things I want to ask. And so I think I want to start by saying or asking, how are you finding these people?
Okay. So, when I first was, put in this role and I knew I was going to be needing to find influencers, I already was kind of online. So I
Mhm.
already had an idea of some people that I personally followed, or personally knew that would be a source of influence. But honestly, it's as simple as a Google search. I
Yeah.
really started with just family influencers in Phoenix, Arizona, and that gave me a long list for me to then go through and vet. And you do
Hmm.
really want to vet people because there's some controversial people that exist online, even here locally, that in Phoenix, that I thought would be a great fit, but in following them and seeing the conversation about them online, I don't think that they would necessarily align with our brand, even though
Hmm.
they have great reach or great engagement. And then also the reality is some people are just completely out of our budget. And that is all just like a learn as you go as well. So I was Googling influencers, finding their social media pages, seeing what their content looks like. And then a lot of influencers intermingle, and
Hmm.
they've
Yes.
created their own community. So then you're looking in their tagged videos and their tagged photos. And so I would say there's probably a group of like 15 to 20 women here in the Valley, in the Phoenix Valley, that all hang out, are friendly, make content together, what have you. But I don't necessarily work with all of them. I might try
Hmm.
to work with one or two of them. And the idea there too is that while they all know each other, if one of them comes and works with me and they have a great time, then the word of mouth will
Hmm.
spread, even if it's not on a paid basis. It's just about, or like even if it's not like them posting about it, they clearly are so connected in the community, they have the money to spend, and so the
Hmm.
more I can get as you wish in their ears, the better it's going to be. But it really started with just a simple Google search, and then vetting and finding what agencies they're a part of. And some people, you have to go through people to get to them, and they have managers or an agent that will like book for them. And I've been embarrassed sometimes, and I'm like, they're like, "What's your budget?" And I'm like, "I don't know, girl, $500." And then they're
Yeah.
like,
And they're like,
"Okay, well,
LOL.
15,000."
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, that was so cute.
Well, and
Nice knowing you."
I will say, like, outside of the Google search, which of course, you can find a lot by Googling, so much of Instagram is searchable now that
Yes.
if you went into the search bar of your Instagram and typed in, Atlanta family influencer, you're gonna find some hits because so
Mm-hmm.
many of these deals go down in the DMs that
They
they're
really do.
putting these words in their bios or in the content that they're making, and you could find someone
Or
really
even
easily that way.
or even just searching like things to do near
Yes.
Phoenix. And then if you're getting lots of the same person, it's like, well, that's what your community, that's what your audience is searching. So if they're popping up as a result, that's somebody you might want to work with.
Yep.
And so we have branched out into, I worked with a gal who like mostly does like food, and her tag is Taste of AZ. But her whole thing is like, I'm going to places in Arizona that deserve the hype. And so when I cold emailed her, it was like, we deserve the hype, and here's why.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
because you're showing that you know her content, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that helps you hit other markets too, because not everyone, I mean, I'm not married with children, but I'm still the target audience for As You Wish. So who would somebody like me be following or looking to for ideas, because while families are our bread and butter, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's our only customer. And
Of
a lot
course.
of our events and things are geared towards like women just wanting to go out and have a good time, and then also the kids. So trying to hit both of those markets.
Yeah, and influencer marketing is something that over the past, several years have gotten extremely popular. When I was working in a studio, I was working with influencers, very local niche influencers coming in and painting. But I will say in the last year, things have ramped up like crazy. And I mean, I get realistically probably 10 cold emails a month, like looking for influencer marketing work from me. And they are all, I mean, I would say 90% of them are super impersonal. They're saying
Yeah,
all the same thing. Oh, my name is
a
so and so
hundred
from so and so,
percent.
and we absolutely love your content. And you can tell the ones that have put some time into it. But
Yes.
I'm curious, are you always emailing them, or are you doing it in the direct messages? Are you doing both? Can we talk about the benefits of that? Because I have
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you. I can read through a message that is just like, it's giving spam bot. It's
It's
like,
giving
hey,
Chat
As You
GPT.
Wish, we love what you do. It's like, no, you don't. You don't even know what we do. So I can certainly read through those DMs. Also, I will say every time I do an influencer campaign,
Mm-hmm.
I start to get a lot of requests from other people that I didn't work with that were like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, we'd love to work with you." And I'm like, "I'm sure you would now. I've been reaching out to you,
Right.
but you've been ghosting me until you see that I actually be working with the people." Um, but I've gone both ways, as far as like the Instagram DMs versus a cold email.
Mm-hmm.
It really just depends on what their preference is. So a
Mm.
lot of times in their bio, it'll say for collab inquiries, DM,
Email
or it'll
only.
say
Mm-hmm.
email or link in bio or whatever that may be. So they're telling you what they want. You need to respect that and go through those channels. If they say they want an email, that doesn't mean you can never message them.
Mm-hmm.
You should just start the conversation in email.
Mm-hmm.
But all that to say, it's really best if you've already started courting them. I would say like working online is
Yes.
like dating. Again, I'm a single woman, so not that good at dating, but very good at the internet influencer dating of it all. And
I
it
don't think it's
really
the
is.
you that's not good at dating, but anyway, I digress.
Are you spending hours managing studio bookings and class registrations? Occasion helps ceramic studios save an average of 3 days a week in admin time. With clever workflows, instant confirmations, and seamless class management, you can focus on what matters, creating amazing experiences for your customers. Join successful studios like Clay Cafe Avalon, who've trusted Occasion since 2016. Visit occasion.app and schedule a demo today. Mention Glazed Over Podcast for personalized setup support.
Hi, podcasters. This is Lisa with Bisque Imports. Have you heard? We've partnered with 4-H, America's largest youth organization with over 6 million members whose demographics perfectly mirror the paint-your-own pottery industry's target customer. 87% of their membership are aged 5 to 13, and, contrary to popular belief, less than half of that membership is in farm or rural areas. Visit our 4-H page at bisqueimports.com to learn more about how you can partner with 4-H, what 4-H will be doing to send members right to your door, and stock up on 4-H licensed designs. Enjoy!
So, yeah, I like to, once I have some people in mind, I start looking months before my campaign is going to start. And, now that we're a few years into it, I have a list of people that we already work with, and it's just a matter of like adding one or two new people each time.
Mhm.
Um,
And
but
with the courting, oh my God, I
yeah,
hit that T really hard in the word courting. You're liking their posts. You're not spamming them, but you're
correct.
maybe thoughtfully leaving some comments, right?
Yes,
Like,
yes,
yeah,
exactly. It's like, oh my gosh, too cute, too precious.
right.
Uh, there's a local influencer that we love, and to be honest, like she's not the most organized or the most reliable, but
Mm,
her content is very genuine and her audience is very engaged. And so, like, I invite her all the time. Sometimes she'll say yes and she doesn't come, and then, there's
sure.
always some things that happen, but at the end of the day, like even just commenting on her post when her daughter's like, she made a video about her daughter being hangry. And I'm like, honestly, Katalea is all of us. And that
Relatable.
comment has like over 50 likes. And it continues to get traction as her post continues to get traction because it's relatable. We're relating. And I've done that for all facets. I've done that for micro influencers, where I'm trying to get in a different segment. So, like, there's a local influencer who owns a business here, a marketing agency, and I wanted to get in with them to do a team build. So that she could use her connections to talk about us for other people to book team builds. Plot twist,
Hmm.
it worked. But it's just, oh my gosh, JoJo's so cute, talking about her dog, talking about this or that. They bought a house. Let me send you some mugs. And so they got
Hmm.
engaged and they got a house, and we painted Mr. and Mrs. mugs and a matching dog bowl for the dog that matched her invitation stationery for her wedding. And she has said, like, this is like the best
And
gift I've ever gotten from a brand.
I want to point out, like, Michaela's not invited to the wedding, but
No.
this girl is sharing it online. Like,
Yes.
you're doing the research, you're paying attention, you're sending these thoughtful gifts. And I know there are some people listening being like, no, or maybe they've turned off the episode and hopefully they'll come back in a little bit.
Yeah, please come
But
back.
it is worth it. And I do
Yeah.
want to I want you to sort of justify what you've done for her. Her name's
Yeah.
Becca.
Yeah.
And kind of explain the ripple out of that because I do think there are people being like, no, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, and it's easy to say we don't have time. We're all given the same 24 hours in a day, and there's plenty of things that I back burner and say I don't have time for. But at the end of the day, when it comes to like our in-studio customers, we're always willing to go above and beyond for them. So we need to reflect that same treatment in our people that we're courting online, and how above and beyond are we willing to go for those people as well. So yeah, so for Becca, I had just been following her as a person, just as an individual, a big fan of what she was doing as she was starting her own small business. Um, and learning from her as well. And as she's saying, these are things you should be doing when you're trying to work with influencers. Best believe those are the things I have to do with her. Otherwise, she's not going to give me the time of day.
Yes, because
Um,
side note, she runs a social media agency. I can't
yeah,
remember if we said that or not.
yeah.
Becca runs a
So
social
she
media
runs.
agency in Phoenix.
Right. So they work for like more e-commerce brands like Tate's Cookies and Perfect Bars, and they work more e-commerce, which is not what we do, but I'm taking notes out of their playbook to book with them basically.
Mhm.
So I have used the painting gifts thing multiple times over. The first influencer event we did, I like really went above and beyond, and I haven't gone this above and beyond since then because it was a huge time commitment. um, but for our invitations for this like VIP influencer night around our business anniversary, so it was like a private event to market our public event to celebrate our business anniversary. I think it was for like our 27th anniversary. So in those invitations, I had a hand painted mug for each person. So they were very much tailored to their persona, what they like to do. One of the influencer families, they love to go on road trips and they love to be outdoors. So I did like the tin mug, like with like a camping thing. Let's go camping. One of the influencers loves Diet Coke. So I painted one mug like a Diet Coke can. So every single thing was tailored to what they would want, what they would actually use. Because if I just paint them something with an As You Wish logo, they're probably never going to use it. It's never going to show up in content, any of the above. So by
And
painting
also
them,
you're pitching a paint your own pottery place, and
right,
this is what you do. You paint your own pottery. You paint what you want on the pottery.
right. And by painting something that they like, that they'll likely use, it's also continuous marketing. So going back to Becca, even though she's not necessarily coming in with her husband now all the time to paint pottery, she's constantly tagging us every time her dog is playing with the dog toy we got her or utilizing the mugs that we've given them or the dog dish for the dog. So she's
Because
always like, As You Wish pottery, blah, blah, blah.
influencers
Go ahead.
understand that this is commerce, this is trade, this is like what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
understand that this is a trade, and you are tagging people, you're bringing people there, even if something that you got was free.
Yeah,
It's
and
etiquette.
even if, like I said, even if it's, yeah, and even if it's not driving them in to paint and driving them in to talk about us, as long as they're continuing to mention you, you're still remaining top of mind for their audience. And when
Mhm.
their audience is hyper local, it really doesn't matter what that looks like in the content because they're just showing that they value you as a business. So when
Mhm.
she posts and she's like, still loving our As You Wish pottery mugs, best gift we've ever been given by a brand, that speaks volumes to her audience that we really take care of our customers, we take care of our guests,
Mhm.
and we want you to come and be a part of that,
Well, even the comment that you left about the hangry child that's getting
yeah,
likes, every time someone sees that and likes the comment, they're likely going to visit your page, especially when you can tell when an Instagram account is a business or a brand. And
yeah,
so, I'm inclined to click on when I see a funny comment, especially I think TikTok has trained us that way to check the
hmm,
comments now and to look and like see what humor we can find down there. I'm following through and I'm going on rabbit holes based on funny comments or relatable comments or sweet comments.
yes, 100%, 100%. And I think that the more you can show that your brand is a persona, I'm not out here saying I'm MJ in the
Hmm.
comments, but they can feel what that interaction feels like just by engaging with our brand. And then when I meet them in person, it's the same. You know what I mean? There's synchronicity there. So I feel like that goes a long, long way. Obviously, like every facet of me, person, as a person, is not As You Wish. But when I'm speaking through the As You Wish channels, I am very much taking on the persona of As You Wish, but I'm also talking to people like they were just walking in through the doors. And if I
Hmm.
were in the studio, what would that look like? What would that feel like? And
A
if I
thousand
was
percent.
just kicking the can with a customer and she's like, she's throwing a fit because we have not eaten lunch, I'd be like, girl, that's all of us. I would say that
Hmm.
in person as
Hmm.
well.
I
And
say
that's
that.
what goes a long way.
Yes, I say that to all my social media clients is like your Instagram is a conversation with your friend. These
Yeah.
people are here because they want to be your friend or be a part of this in some way.
Yeah.
And it comes down to how do you want to talk to them? You would talk to them like, anybody else.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge thing is like don't lose the social in the social media.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes people want to just post and ghost and they want to just post and go away, but that's not building community. And that's what social media really is meant to do. That's why
No.
they're continuously creating ways for you to connect directly with your community by way of the broadcast channel on Instagram and Facebook groups and whatever that may look like.
I was thinking about this in the shower. Like, sorry to talk about the shower, but I find that the
Don't be
people that
sorry.
I find that the people that complain the most about the algorithm being against them or, the algorithm is hiding them or they're shadow banning them, whatever, these are the people that are so unwilling to adapt to the change. And, I think influencer marketing plays into a lot of that. Like, this is just how it is. I mean,
Hmm.
if you are a user on TikTok, which I will be honest with you, I'm still off TikTok since January. It was taking so much of my time.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
I
I
was
was a really productive in those 16 hours it was gone. I'll tell you what.
100%. I was going to
Yeah,
approach you and ask for sort of like a weekly wrap up of what's happening over there in case I need to, know anything important. So if you just want to get that together for me, we could
100%.
talk.
Yep.
But yeah, if you're scrolling TikTok and even if you're scrolling Instagram Reels at this point, which, you need to be using the app that you are promoting on and
Trying to
that you
show
are
up
selling
on.
on.
Yeah.
You need to be using it to understand how it works. But if you're
Yeah.
scrolling, you're finding this user-generated content. If someone is cooking something and there is a box there that you can see and they're using it in a way that they positively like, that's user-generated content
Right.
and you can't really get away from it. So let's figure out how to make that work for pottery.
Yeah. Yeah, and the biggest thing is you're going to get out what you put in. So if you are sitting here listening to this and saying to yourself, I actually just don't care and I actually want no part of it, like I wish I could have that happening for my business, but I don't want to do it, hire somebody.
Yeah.
Hire somebody to do it, whether that's an agency or it's somebody on your staff or whatever that looks like and whatever your budget will allow. You need to have somebody doing it that actually cares about the outcome of those things. Um,
1000%.
like I run our social media channels, so I'm basically always working, and that is my own choice. But I want my content to perform well. I want my community to feel heard. So if they're going to DM me on Saturday morning at 8 a.m., I will reply as soon as I'm available to, and I will help them. I will make the reservation or answer the question or whatever it may be, even though my office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, it's only going to benefit you to participate and to have that community engagement. If you're just posting and going away, then you're missing it all.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will say, like, the Michaela is the gold standard of an employee. I don't know that you will find that. You need to kind of meet in the middle of that because Michaela,
absolutely.
As You Wish has put in so much and I think Michaela feels very validated and heard in her job, and that is why she works very hard. But I do think we're in a really interesting place in the industry where it's really hard for us to find people to run social media like it should
Yeah.
be. You need to
Yeah.
have someone so dedicated and that understands it and that can make the content and make it look good and put the time in because it's not just a 10-hour a week
Yeah.
job,
It's
and I don't
not.
want to discourage anybody, but I
Right.
think when you're on Chatter or you're on Peeps and you're saying like, I want to have a social media manager, it unfortunately is at the very least a part-time position.
At least, yeah. And again, you're gonna get out what you put in. Um, my role is not just limited to, I say as a joke, takey picky, posty posty. Like, like that's what I think some people summarize my job to be, and that's not solely my role. I'm very immersed in other parts of our business as well. But when it comes to, so like I'm not spending 40 hours a week managing, posting, editing, all of those things. There's also a lot of behind the scenes things that I'm doing to plan for that, or working with influencers, or, planning things, scheduling things, ordering product, whatever that may be, right?
Going on
But
the
I,
news to do PR work, it's
yes,
the public relations of it all, of course.
yes, that side as well. But I think if you could at least get somebody to give you 25 to 30 hours a week. So if you already have a full-time employee and you have downtime in your studio, and you should utilize that person. If they're not online, like inherently like speaking brain rot, then they may not be your person. But
But they can learn. I don't want to
they
discourage
can learn.
anybody.
Yes.
They can learn, and
Yes,
you
they
can
can learn.
learn.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm completely self-taught. So I'm not trying, like I don't have a degree. So I'm not saying this to, devalue myself and my own
Mm-hmm.
knowledge and stuff, but just to show that anybody can do it. It
Mm-hmm.
just takes attention to it, and dedication to wanting to be good at it. Um and sometimes that's looking outside of the industry for other ideas and resources as well. The
Mm-hmm.
best thing you can do, like you were saying, is scrolling and seeing what big accounts are doing, following Instagram's best creators, TikTok's best creators, seeing what they're doing, and then how can you apply that to what that looks like for pottery. Um,
I
and
also encourage people when they are scrolling and using the app, when you like something, I want you to take a second and understand say why you liked it out
right.
loud. Or if you're sharing it with someone, what led you to share that? And comment, like, because when you start to understand what drives an audience member to do that, then I think you can start creating content to have
That will
that.
do the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll be honest, like something that I still struggle with is content that like pulls on the heartstrings, that is like very evident of like we are a solution to your problem. So like when I post stuff, and I know that that's like marketing 101.
Mm-hmm.
Um if I'm like struggling to have alone time with your family, that post is not doing well. And I
Mm.
don't know
I
what
am
that
available
verbiage.
for hire if you
Okay.
can book my Instagram services directly on amyyall.com. We can really work through
um
that together.
Okay, Lori, tune out. You didn't hear that.
Oh, you can write
No,
it off. It's an expense.
that's true. No, but you know what I mean? Like I still
I get
struggle
it.
with that. So I
Hmm.
have to find ways to kind of connect those dots in a less obvious way. It
Hmm.
can't just be like, "Oh, are you struggling to spend time with your significant other? Here's what you should
Hmm.
do," just like those viral ads that you get shown all the time.
Hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I'm scrolling and people are like, "You have high cortisol," and I'm like, "I think I
Right.
do, actually."
Yeah. Or my God, the amount
So
of ADHD diagnoses that we've gotten since TikTok yeah, it's like everyone's like, oh
exactly,
yeah,
it's
I
like
do
that.
have that.
So I don't know how to immerse into that for our industry. I'll be honest, like I'm still learning too. But I have found that just like showing what could be works.
Hmm.
This is what a night out with your family could look like. This is
Hmm.
what a date time and quality time could look like.
Hmm.
Or capturing handprints and footprints, and you could cherish those, or doggy paw prints or whatever that
Hmm.
may be. So
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
Um, this is just I just want to know, have you
yeah.
started trying to find influencers via YouTube?
I have not. I, in recent discussions with my team, which is
Hmm.
Liz, um, I have said that we need to be more involved in YouTube.
Yeah. I've had
I
a couple brands recently comment on videos of mine, and I can feel them doing the dance,
courting. Hmm.
and also like bigger brands like Tombow, half the reason I have my Tombow gig is because of my YouTube channel. So
Right.
I do think there is value in finding smaller, less expensive creators
Yeah.
on YouTube.
We worked with one gal who has a decent following on Instagram, but her most engaged audience is on YouTube. And she did like include us, like she did a post, but then she included us in her like vlog video
Mm-hmm.
that she
Cute.
posted on YouTube. And it was really cute. Um, I it's hard when they're
Hmm.
again like it's all about tailoring to like our hyper local audience. So
Of
like
course.
she's very like a reader and a sourdough maker and a mom and like all of those things, and so her vlogs are very much like around that, and so that reaches an audience farther than Phoenix, Arizona, obviously.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it is something that we're working towards. I don't know how soon we'll be like looking for YouTube influencers before we just just amp up our YouTube. And that was something
Hmm.
that we talked about in regards to TikTok. If you go to our TikTok right now, you're going to see I have not posted since November. That's because
Hmm.
the government said it was shutting down. And I said, I'm tired of trying.
You said I'm out.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
it's obviously still there, but I have not, once I took that off my burner, I
Hmm.
have not gone back to it. Again, like sometimes sacrifices have to be made. We have a much more engaged audience on Instagram. So if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be there first. And then
Hmm.
whatever time I have left over is what's going to go to TikTok. And right now, that's not much time, to be
Well,
honest.
I'm gonna tell you for YouTube, now we're just off to the races, but
That's fine.
like something that's so popular on YouTube right now are these like vibey videos, like I can't tell you the amount of videos I put on that are like study with me, read with me,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And it's real time. Maybe they're in a cafe, so it's like light cafe noise,
Sure.
with a beautiful song lightly in the background, and they are flipping pages and they are highlighting. And
Yeah.
it's great in the background when I'm working or when I'm reading, but I would love to see Paint Your Own Potteries, aka As You Wish Pottery
Right.
Studio,
Right.
do these
Paint
paint
with
with
me.
me that are just
Hmm.
so vibey, and then even
Chill.
dipping it into the overglaze or
Yeah.
the clear glaze and then putting it in the kiln, closing it, beep, 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 setting it up. I mean,
Right.
that's like, why is no one
Yeah.
doing that?
And I think that sometimes, like,
Wait, why
this
am
is
I not
where,
doing that?
yeah,
I
why are
just
you
realized
not
I
doing
could do
that?
that.
Girl,
Okay.
you could do
Anyway.
that. Make a note, paint with me in my studio.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't work in the studios, so sometimes it is slightly a disadvantage the way like our systems are set up. I have to be cognizant about not being disruptive to like a customer or what they may want to be doing. And because I'm not in the studios, it's not like if I were in the studio all day, every day, it'd be really easy for me to just be like, now's a perfect time to do that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, Instead, I just like show up and hope that it works, hope that the staff want to participate, hope that, whatever it may be. So, if you are in your studio and you're running your social media, I would definitely encourage you trying that.
Hmm.
We have like a fake setup at our headquarters. So, I have gotten some like reusable photo backdrops that are matte, non-reflective, and it's from Club Backdrop. And you can choose, like, you can create your own color based on like a Pantone or like a hex code. And so it matches the exact shade of purple that our tables are. So I
Hmm.
can do painting videos and it looks like I'm painting on the tables in the studio when I'm not.
Yep.
So that's kind of like my workaround for that because I found when I'm trying to do any sort of painting video and it's just like on wood or on brick or like whatever it may be, like that doesn't match a customer's experience. So I'm trying to do the most I can to mimic an in studio visual so that when they
Hmm.
walk in, it all looks familiar and feels familiar to
Agreed.
them.
Yeah. The visual branding is so important.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, obviously I could talk to you about this all day, but
Yeah, it's fine.
just to circle back to influencer marketing,
Right, right,
how,
right.
let's say I really want to sell our industry on this because I think
Okay.
it's really important. And so, our first step is going to be locate the influencer. The second step is going to be vet them, spend a
Right.
week or so, depending on how active they are, checking out their content, making sure that it aligns with your branding. Then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to
I
start,
would I would go as far as to say like a month of vetting, just
sure.
because they have like their own content pillars as well. So like you want to see all of the variations of content they post, but I
Yeah.
agree.
We're
Continue.
doing light. We're
Yeah.
doing beginner. Yeah, if you
Okay.
told me I had to do something for a month, I'd be like, bye, I'm hanging up the phone. Um, so we're gonna check out their content, make sure it aligns with what we're doing, making sure that they're not, overly political or talking about things that wouldn't let happen in your studio. Then you're
Right.
going to court them a little bit. You're going to like their stuff. You're going to comment like a genuine comment, not
Yeah,
not
like you're
love
their
it.
friend. Right.
Yep, act like their friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then, send them a DM or a message or an email, I will say, a direct
Mm-hmm.
message or an email. And then offer them the trades, so you come
Sure.
in and bring your family and paint, and we'd love to have you create a piece of content, and
Yes.
again, like before you get into this with them, I would have that outline, right?
Yeah.
This is what you're looking for. You want to see a video like Michaela was saying earlier, we love seeing smiling faces painting, and we love, seeing you. We have so many options to paint, so we love when you pan on the
Yeah.
disc shelves or whatever, and then set it up, right?
Right. I
Yeah.
would say that it's a little bit different when I'm reaching out regarding UGC as opposed to them posting on their own page.
Hmm.
When it comes to their content, if it's something they're going to post as an influencer, I relinquish a lot of creative control because their audience knows. You know what I mean? Like they
Sure.
know what their audience wants to see. So if you give them
Yes.
like a super specific like creative list of what the shots should be and what the voiceover should be and all that stuff and it's not true to them, their audience is going to
That's
snuff that out.
That's a very good point. I
Yeah.
did a Headley and Bennett ad,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
aprons, and I love them. But they sent me a campaign brief that was like, "Yeah, you're cooking in the kitchen, and and it's like
Don't
I don't
cook.
cook." So,
Right.
so for me, these aprons happen in the studio. So you're completely right. Like I made it work for me and for my brand and for my audience. And yes, and that's a very good thing to say about like, content for trade, which is having them, post on their website or whatever, or on their Instagram, their website.
Yeah.
Post on the website, that's going to be closer to their brand. But if they are posting it for you to use, this user generated content, that's when you can control the narrative a little bit more.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And it's really important to recognize that this is their job. So not everybody is willing to work for trade. And there are some, like a specific family influencer that we work with, Phoenix with Kids. Sometimes we work with them on trade and sometimes we pay them. It just depends on what we're looking for. So, for example, the summer class preview night, we typically pay them for that because we also want them to send, because they have other avenues. So they'll make a blog post, they'll send an email to their following, and they'll post about it twice on both Instagram and Facebook. So that's always nice. But sometimes, like for our anniversary VIP events, that's just for trade. And they're getting a lot out of it. We have snacks brought in, like we have it catered. We have bartenders come and bring and make mocktails and cocktails. So we make like a whole event out of it. So where they're getting more than just the trade. We're offering like a higher value experience. So I think when you're pitching and you're emailing them or you're DMing them, whatever that may be, we'd love to work with you. You don't have to make it super, super long, just a few like brief paragraphs on like why you love them, why you think you're a good match with your brand, and what you would hope for with a partnership or a collaboration. And I always end that with like, if you have a copy of your media kit or your rate sheet, if you could send that over, that would be wonderful. That's basically telling them, I'm happy to pay you if I
Exactly.
can afford to pay you.
Exactly.
And sometimes they'll say, this is my rate sheet, but I'm willing to give you a discount because you're a small business. And we do have 8 locations, but it's still the cost of 8 locations times 8. It's not like we're just like rolling in cash all the time, right?
Yeah.
So we do
Yeah,
still have a smaller budget as opposed to like a big e-commerce brand or like Walmart or some Fry's, Kroger, which some of these influencers work with Kroger. I don't have a Kroger budget,
Yeah, for sure. And I think you will get it wrong at first.
Yeah, you're gonna fail.
It's a learning curve.
Right.
And so don't feel like you have to have everything exactly right. And I do think that's when you lean into those micro influencers, those very
Yeah.
local, if you've got, I hate to say it, if you've got a hot girl who's, posting a lot on her Instagram and she's all around the city, you might just want to be like, hey, do you want to come in and paint something? We'd love,
Right.
to host you
Right.
if you'd share,
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Definitely start small, I think, and that way you can get some practice and kind of get a feel for what that communication looks like and what works and what doesn't. So that way, when you try to like reel in a big fish, you have a little bit of ground to stand on and you know like what to expect. And there have been big fish that we've reeled in that we absolutely love and want to work with as much as we can afford to. But there have been big fish that we've reeled in where while they were great and lovely people, they didn't buy in on what we do, and that was evident in their content. And so we don't necessarily want to like always keep them on our list, especially when they cost so much.
Yeah, and that's smart to review the list. And I think when you finish a campaign with these people, write notes and keep it somewhere because
Yeah.
it's easy to forget. All of these people blend together,
They do.
and it's easy to forget. So I think what everyone wants to know is like, how do you determine the return on investment of these?
Yeah. And like I said, sometimes it's slightly immeasurable. Even these amazing, well-performing influencers don't necessarily use your unique link correctly. So you do just have to utilize your website analytics and your sales last year versus this year. So I, excuse me, every month, I like keep a spreadsheet. So if there's like any influencer campaigns that I did, so for example, we're about to do our summer class campaign in May. So I will have that as like my campaign of the month. And what I'll do is I'll compare it to summer class sales year to date last year versus year to date this year. And then come June, where are we at last year versus this year? I don't always give a coupon code, but I have specifically for the summer class campaign. And when I do, it really is just a bargaining tactic to get people on your website. Because I will have, for example, from this influencer, we'll get like 300 clicks to our website from their post or their blog or their email or what have you. Um, and then only 40 people will redeem the coupon. Not everyone's going to redeem the coupon, but they're still ending up on your website. Sometimes they don't care about the $5 off. It's more about just an incentive to get you there. And it's just the same with any in-person marketing event where you're giving bounce back coupons or whatever it may be. They may forget the coupon. They may come in and leave it at home. They don't even care about it, so it's hard to have an exact number. But I think it's important that you clarify your goals at the beginning of the partnership with yourself and the influencer or whoever that may be. So if your goal is just like brand awareness and you just want to get in front of people, maybe they do a giveaway and they have to follow their page and your page, and then you'll gain a bunch of followers. And we've done that with an influencer here, and that has worked tremendously for us. Now, granted, everything is
drop off.
net. Right. So while I might gain 2,000 followers in a month and a half, I'm still losing followers every day. So you're not just only going to be positive, but at the end of the day, it's just like people that unsubscribe from your email list. If you don't want it, don't be here. It's fine. There are plenty of other people that do want to be here that still show up. So it just depends on what your goal is. So if that's your goal and you want to measure based on followers gained, great. If you want to measure based on traffic to your website from social media via Google Analytics, great. If it's conversions and sales, go that route. Just whatever your goal is, have that kind of set out beforehand. So that way you're directing your influencer to navigate their audience to that goal. So make sure you give As You Wish a follow and check out one of their 8 Valley studio locations. Or, if you're looking for something to do, check out As You Wish, whatever that call to action is at the end. And yeah, you'll notice it, once the post goes live. But it's really just about knowing that it works and just kind of trusting. If you do a influencer campaign and you see no influx in traffic, no influx in followers, no influx in reach on your own posts, then like that probably wasn't a good partnership for you. But even a little bit is better than none, especially if you're working for trade and it's costing you all of like 40, $50.
And especially if you're just starting and figuring out. I really want to nail that point home, is like it will feel nearly impossible.
Daunting.
But
Yeah,
it's
and
worth
it really is worth it. And I think, utilize your team as well. So even if you're a staff of 5 at your next staff meeting, who do you guys follow on social media? Who do you look to for ideas to do with your friends and family? Get their input, and what influencers would you like to see us working with? And again, you do have to vet, because if we worked with every influencer that people like, I don't know that our brand name would go untarnished. You know what I mean? So it is important to vet those people and see what they talk about online and how they're revered online. Some, hate follows exist. So just because they have the followers doesn't mean that everyone that follows them likes them. So just kind of keep that in mind. But ultimately utilize your people, because your staff likely are already really tapped in to what's happening online and who to follow and all of those things. But yeah, never just dismiss somebody because they only have a couple thousand followers. It's always great to just start small in that regard.
What's the website that you check their engagement rate, if you want to shout that out for people?
Yeah, I'm going to swipe away really quick so that I can pull it up on my bookmark. But I just have it bookmarked, and it's called, oh gosh, Flanks, PHLANX.com /engagement-calculator. I probably found that from a Google search.
From a Google,
Yeah. And you only get so many free searches per day. Just a heads up. So, if you're trying to vet 20 people in a day and you're not paying for an account, you're going to have to divvy it up. But that is a great tool just to kind of get an idea of even if I should look into working with this person a little bit more. So when the bar graph shows that like people in this range of followers tend to have like this much engagement and they're like all the way down here on the bar graph, it's like, they're not really getting that much engagement. If they're following middle to high end, it's like, oh, okay, they're doing pretty good for where they're at. So I would definitely utilize that. But again, it just comes down to each individual creator and what they do. You know, one of the influencers that we love working with, their tag is Wild Joy Experiences, and the lady who runs that with her husband, she's like incredible. She's so amazing to work with, and she's just like a bright shining star. Like she's just like a really bright, wonderful person. So she's great to work with and she costs us the most amount of money, but I'm still always like, what can we do with Wild Joy? And we've done partnership on events, which has been really good. And she actually puts on like make friends events. So that's like her whole thing is every month
Cool.
she'll partner with like right now it's spring training here in Arizona. So they did like an exclusive like package deal for going to the spring training game, and they're all like in this one exclusive section and only so many people can go, yada yada, right? But you're getting a discounted rate as opposed to like what it would cost to just like go to a spring training game. So we did an event with her and we partnered with our mall on that, and that was like incredible because then they split the cost for us. And so we basically just got our money back. Like we broke even on like the cost of working with the influencer and how much we got in ticket sales for the event. But everyone that came to the event was like, this was so cool. And I want you guys to partner more. I want to do more pottery painting in the district and la di
Nice.
da. And I would have paid more. I'm like, thank you. That's music to my ears because I
Yeah.
want to charge more, you know? So you really just have to like put your feelers out and try stuff and just know that when something doesn't work, it's a lesson learned. Don't like give up and really do your best to just kind of analyze what could have been different, what you know, where was that hiccup or what made this not a great partnership? Was it the communication on the front end? You know, because I've had those ahas as well of like, maybe I should have been a little more specific on what I want to see. Um, because not everyone's great at content creating regardless of how engaged their audience is. So if it's just like a 7-second video just like panning the shelves and then a quick clip of them painting, I'm like, okay girl, like you
Yeah.
didn't
You
really
missed
sell
the
them.
context. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it only cost me $50 in cost of product and you know what have you. So it's not
Yeah.
breaking the bank,
Yeah.
you know.
It's a lesson that you can afford to learn.
Yes, exactly. So start small would be my feedback. And then as you have some confidence about you and some practice, then start going in for the bigger fish. Or if you're going to put on a bigger event, work with all those small people that you've already worked with before and then invite one or two bigger fish and see if they come and then learn from that. So you're not just like, you know, because even with our bigger events, like our VIP nights, it's not all mega influencers. I usually have two, maybe three larger influencers, and then the rest are like my micro influencers, which some have 10,000, some have 50,000, but they're reaching different audiences, you know?
Yeah, and I think my takeaway for everyone listening is like if you think your town doesn't have an influencer, you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we are fortunate. Phoenix is huge. And our studios are very spread apart. So our like Phoenix Metro Valley from one studio to the other, it's like about 2 hours. And then we have studios in between. So our valley is like really big and we do have a lot of people. But even when we're opening a studio, like when we opened in a new location, I'm looking for influencers on that side of town. And that may not exist. It might just be that people are like centralized to Phoenix and going to all the suburbs of Phoenix and talking about all of them. And that's great too. But if you can find someone that's like really niche to your area, like you were saying, the Dublin gal, Dublin is a small town, but she's the to do of the small town. So, you know, whether your you know, community is a population of $70,000 or $2 million, there's going to be somebody that you
Yeah.
can work with for sure. For sure.
We hope you enjoyed that podcast. Don't forget, head over to Bisque Imports to find out how you can partner with local 4-H groups to create lasting relationships within your community that not only give back to this amazing organization, but help your business grow and thrive.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
Running a small business can sometimes feel isolating, but with the CCSA, you're never alone. As a member of the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association, you'll be part of a supportive community of studio owners just like you. Our forums, events, and annual convention give you the chance to connect, share ideas, and collaborate with other passionate business owners in the fine arts world. Join the CCSA and tap into a network that understands your business challenges and is ready to help you succeed. Visit ccsaonline.com and get connected today.
Well, Michaela, any last words?
Go for it. Definitely go for it. And like I said, just lean on your people, lean on your staff who maybe are more plugged into online. And, if you take anything away from this, I would hope that it would be that there is value in social media. And if you're not into it, totally fine. Just find someone that is and work with them, whether that's your staff or you're hiring out or whatever that looks like. Because there is return on that investment. And anymore with Instagram being a search engine basically, and TikTok being a search engine and YouTube being a search engine, people are going there and looking for things to do, and you want to show up there. So whether that's from your own page or that's from an influencer saying, check out As You Wish Pottery or whatever your studio is called, there's huge value there. So yeah.
Agreed. Well said. Well,
Thank
thank you, Michaela. You are so good at this. Your insight is so valuable, and we appreciate that you've taken the time to share it with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And again, if you are unaware of As You Wish, which how could you? Definitely check out their Instagram account. Michaela does an incredible job. I'm constantly referencing it when I need to make content for Paint Your Own Pottery. So thank you for being my biggest inspiration.
Aw.
And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would love for you guys to reach out online. Our tag is at As You Wish Pottery. So if you shoot us a message or have any questions, that'll be me on the other end helping you. So yeah.
But not at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, maybe, just in case.
No,
Let her
I do
talk to
have
the customers then.
I have sleep mode. I've set boundaries, so I do have
Nice.
sleep mode set up. But yes, I will get back to you. I promise.
All right. Thank you, Michaela.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Glazed Over is brought to you by the CCSA, the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association. Thank you to our moderators, Amy Williams and Jessica Cowan. Editing by Scott Lester. Executive production by Vicki DeWorth. Learn more at ccsaonline.com.